Everybody, welcome back to the channel. We are back on the 1972 Plymouth Fury. We're doing some exhaust work and we're going to figure out these headlights. On the last video, we diagnosed the headlights and figured out that something's up with the switch or something. Some of you guys were saying maybe a dimmer switch. So guess what? I bought both of them. So yeah, that's right. I went ahead and bought both switches. I actually got two of the dimmer switches. That way I could throw one in the glove box and have it as an extra. Some of you guys said that's a good idea because these are prone to going out. And when they do, apparently you lose all your headlights. So that would not be cool out on a dark road, which I'm sure is exactly where it would happen. After we get done screwing around with the headlights, hopefully we get them working again. We're going to jump underneath it and do the exhaust. Like I said, man, I've got some big plans for the exhaust. It's going to get a little weird underneath there, but I want true duals on this car, not the 2 and the 1 like it came out with. Apparently it came out 2, went into 1, and then went back into 2. We're not doing that. We're going true duals, and that's going to take a little bit of work, but we'll get it. Good news, we did get the shutters working. We verified that the motor does in fact work. That's this guy right here, in case anybody missed it. It works. It's not froze up with rust like we had thought. How many young guys are watching and never actually seen the dimmer switch on the floor? You click it with your foot. That was kind of an old school thing. It's located over here. I've already taken it and unbolted it. So now all I gotta do is unplug it and put the new one in. Hopefully the lighting's okay, but yeah, once you take the 2 screws out that bolt it to the floor, you're just going to kind of come in here and wiggle this plug off of here. Be careful not mess anything up, but yeah, that just comes off like that, and then your new one will just plug right in, of course. So I've got that new dimmer switch in, and I got some good news about the actual headlight switch itself. So yeah, if you missed the last video, when we pulled this out, you have to push this button to release this, or you can't get it out of the dash, right? And when I did that, this came out like it's supposed to, but it wouldn't go back in. It wouldn't stay in. It just slid in and out, and it wouldn't even engage the switch. But you can see now it's working. Now, whether or not it's going to stay working, I don't know, because I'm going to have to pull this back off to actually install it in the car. But I thought that now would be a good test to see if you guys were right or not. Some of y'all were suggesting, remember that it wasn't this. This ain't the problem. Your suggestions was it's a dimmer switch. So let's go find out. See if we can't get this plugged back in. So here we go, moment of truth. It works. You guys are always right. Well, that's cool. That was actually like an $8 fix. That's pretty awesome. You gotta like that. Here's the old switch. I went ahead and pulled it back out. Now I am noticing it does appear to have maybe some heat damage going on here. These things are notorious for getting too hot and kind of melting the plugs. Now here's the new switch. This is the replacement switch. And one thing that I'm noticing is that they upgraded with a little tang here to put a ground on. And some of you guys were suggesting that when I put this back in, if I do reuse it, to ground this, ground the instrument cluster, ground everything, because these things are notorious for getting bad grounds over time. So that's kind of cool that the factory standard, they address that issue with this. That's kind of cool. So I will be taking advantage of that. I do think I will go ahead and take the old switch, throw it in the glove box, keep it as an extra one, and go ahead and roll with my new switch, and we'll find us a ground. We'll take this down and ground it to the firewall somewhere. What do you think? And to be honest, I probably won't have much of a choice anyway. I'm willing to bet as soon as I push that button to pull that knob back out for reinstallation, it's probably going to start acting up again and not want to go back in again. So I'll probably have to do it anyway. But hey, we do have headlights now. How cool is that? But I do have one other issue, and I'm going to ask you guys for some advice on this. Maybe you'll know. When I turn the switch off, the shutters are going shut, and I'm not completely sure why. That's something else I'm going to have to figure out, I guess. Kind of weird. I got the key on and everything, and it's still not working, so I'm not really sure what that's about. I do know this. This is what I've learned so far, is that there is a knob on the bottom of the motor here, and you can spin it. I'll show you right here. You can spin this knob, and look, they'll start to go down, right? In fact, they'll go all the way till they're shut. So you can do it by hand. And it's like, no matter how I adjust this, I can only get them to come back up. They won't go down. So what do you guys think, man? You think there's something still wrong with this, or is there something going on with the plug? I don't really know. Maybe it's got a bad ground itself, but you would think that would make it not work at all. And it clearly does work because they do come open, they just don't go shut. So just a bit more to sort out on the headlights, but at least we have working lights now. That's awesome. And the best part, it was actually cheap. Gotta like cheap. There's not much cheap anymore. Speaking of nothing cheap anymore, these things used to be $37 and they're like $56 now. That's crazy. I thought I would pull off for a little bit and maybe weld up some exhaust. This thing is crying out for exhaust in the worst way. In fact, it really doesn't have any exhaust on it right now at all. Let's take a few minutes to rig up our Eastwood welder. Normally when I do my welding, I like to use my old ESAB. I love this thing, but this one has thicker wire in it. This one's a little thinner. I think it'll do better for our exhaust since it is kind of thin walled tubing, right? We'll get our new bottle hooked up, get the regulator and everything all tightened up on here, and we ought to be good to go. Simple little setup here. Doesn't take but a minute to swap between this welder and this welder. I just run them both off the same bottle. No sense in having two bottles. Can't run both welders at the same time anyway. Eastwood hooked me up with that welder a few years ago to do a review on it, and well, I mean, it's still holding up. Works fine. Can't say anything negatively about it, I don't guess. I can't attest to their customer service or anything like that because I've never dealt with any of that. So somebody left me a comment a while back and said their customer service is terrible. I don't know anything about that. I've never dealt with their customer service, but as far as the machine, it seems to be fine. Yeah, I don't like hearing stories like that. That's why I normally don't mess with any kind of promotional stuff. I got them, man, they're calling me all the time trying to get me to sign up with them so I could do their little YouTube commercials. You guys, y'all know all the YouTubers do it and it's great and all, but man, I just don't want to mess with none of that because I don't want to be in a position where I got to be like, oh yeah, it's great when it's really not, you know? I don't like it. I had one the other day trying to send me turbos. It's like, what am I going to put a turbo on? I ain't got nothing to put a turbo on right now. Oh no. Something about telling them no makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Is that weird? You tell me. I just feel like as long as you guys are watching the videos, hitting the thumbs up, leaving comments and everything like you've been doing, we don't need nobody, man. We'll be all right. And you guys have been amazing, dude. If you don't believe me, dude, go look in the comments section. Unbelievable community that we're building here, man. I am super impressed by you guys. Very supportive, very informative. You got good constructive criticism. I appreciate all of it. I can't thank you guys enough. I can't tell you how many times you guys have steered me in the right direction on things. The dimmer switch, perfect example. Just under here checking it out, trying to see what I'm up against, getting a little idea of how I want to do this. I want true dual exhaust on this. I'm pretty set on it. You can see just how bad this exhaust is. It's actually got holes all the way through it in numerous places. One being right here where these two sections tie together. You see right there, pretty bad shape. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the path of least resistance on this. And what we'll do is we'll keep the pieces that lead up to the exhaust manifolds. We'll just keep that piece right there coming to about right in here somewhere. And then we'll go from there on back. The problem that I'm having here is that the shifter linkage is in the way. If you'll look over here on the other side, the way it's ran, it's running right along the bottom of that torsion bar there. So to do that on this side, we've got shifter linkage completely in the way, this guy right here. So what I'm thinking is that maybe if we can elbow off of this, come through, you know, we'll bring it down where it's supposed to be. We'll come to right here, and then we'll do some kind of something to come up and over this area. And then after we're past that, we'll be good, because you can see back here from the factory, we've got notches in the cross members so that you can actually run a pipe down that side. We just got to get past that linkage. If this was a stick shift, this would be a lot easier, but unfortunately, no, it's an automatic. So we got just a few little obstacles we got to get through. So we're not going to be opening any kind of racing catalogs and ordering a bunch of chunks of pipe with special bends or any of that kind of stuff. I've got a stash out back. Let's go check it out. Oh yeah, you can see here we got quite a stash going on, and we got all kinds of special bends here. Look at this. That one right there would work perfectly for getting over that shifter linkage, and we've got lots of them. We only need one because the other side we're not going to have to do this little modification to. So I don't know, man, maybe we should just grab this one. Okay, let's see what we came up with here. Some of it's got a little surface rust on it, but trust me, this is good solid pipe. Nothing's been eaten through by rust at all, so this ought to get us through this. So here's my plan. I was thinking about taking something like this here, and we'll fish it up in here like this. Yeah, we'll just put it in here kind of like that there. That'll give us a nice idea where we need to cut it over here. And then obviously this all goes away, and what'll happen is that will get us up and over the shifter linkage there. You see that? And at the same time, we won't interfere with our starter. That's something we're dealing with on this side, is we got the starter and we got this shifter linkage here. So this piece ought to do it. Don't worry about this little guy here. That's just an old exhaust bracket. We'll grind that off. You'll never know it was ever there. And then when we're done, we'll hit this up with some high temp paint, make it look nice. But this, I do believe, is going to get us exactly what we need, just that one piece. And then obviously we'll have to drop it back down to get it to go through this cross member over here. But that's okay. All we'll need is just another little bend to bring it back down a little bit, and we'll be good. So I think at this point I'm going to do a little bit of cutting. I can't wait to get some of this old crappy exhaust pipe out of the way. Saw wouldn't cut all the way through. It cut most of it, but not all the way. I need to get my saws all out, but there we go. There's our first piece out of the way. Just gonna go through with my cutoff wheel, kind of get some of this crap out of here. You can see here where this is all jaggedy from being cut off with a torch. Let's clean our piece up. So just about to get it all straightened out. Got that cut off, got the end of it straightened out there, and you can see somebody beat on it with a hammer or something. I need that to be a perfect circle, so I'm gonna see if I can't straighten it out. I'm gonna use a big old socket as a dolly. I'm gonna set that right there. We're gonna put it up against another dolly. We're gonna beat on it with a hammer, see what happens. Well, looking better already, look at that. Well, hell, that just might get it. Tap around on it, just like that. And we should have a nice, perfect piece of pipe when we're done. We're perfect enough anyway, right? Well, okay, there's our piece. Looks like we're doing some plumbing work or something under the kitchen sink, doesn't it? Gonna get in here and do a little body work to my pipe. You can see it's just not perfectly round like I need it to be, so I'm just gonna get in here and kind of straighten it out a little bit. You can see here my socket, it's got a little taper on it, so when I put it up in the hole right there, all I gotta do is tap on it with my hammer. And it brings my shape back real nice. Getting a nice round circle now. Let's see about getting our welder into position. I need to move it over here to the driver's side. Yeah, you see here, this is what we're going for. We want that to just come right off the existing pipe. Leads right up to the exhaust manifold, and that's going to bring us right up and over our linkage here. And then we will take care of the next piece here in just a second. So I'm trying to be mindful of this torsion bar. I don't want this to be too close to the torsion bar. I'm going to go ahead and see if we can't get a tack right here, lock it into place. That seems to be pretty good. That'll work. Well, that's how you know you work it too hard. I done worked my steel toe right out of my boot. So we got some tack welds on it, holding it pretty good. And we are headed in the right direction. Look at that, that's gonna go right over the top of our shifter linkage. Now we can run another piece on out. And then at some point we're gonna have to kind of jog it over and get it to go right underneath this little cutout here. Went back out to my exhaust pipe stash and I found some pieces, got some pretty tight little elbows on them. I think I'm gonna cut them off and see if we can kind of incorporate that into this. Yeah, these are pretty tight. I think that'll help us out, and there's one on each side, so I'm gonna take them. Try to get a good shot of this. My lighting isn't the greatest, but you can see where I'm going with this. We're going to tie onto that just like that. That gets us up and over that shifter linkage. You see that? And if I kind of tilt it toward this way, kind of turn it toward the driver's side, you see? That's going to line us right up with our notch that's in this cross member. So that'll kick us over this way and get us out of the way of this dang shifter linkage. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this other elbow off. It's the same exact elbow as on the other side. So when we tie the two pieces together, we're going to end up with kind of an S shape. And then that should get us heading right where we need to go. Then we'll smooth it up with the flapper wheel just like we did the other one. I think we just about got our money's worth out of that blade. What do you think? You guys have been sending me all kinds of cutoff wheels, man, and I do appreciate it. I got stacks of these things on the wall. And that's all thanks to you guys, man. I do appreciate it, and believe me, we're going to need a ton of these for this project. Thought it might be a smart idea to break out the chop saw on some of this stuff. I think I'm going to go ahead and tack in my other piece of my elbow here. The one that's going up and over the shifter linkage. This will help free up my hands so that I can fit that next piece because, man, I need about 4 hands underneath here to do this. So there's what we've got so far. I'll admit that's kind of interesting, but I think it's going to work. We can't weld too much together, you guys. We got to be mindful of the fact that this all needs to be taken apart so it can be serviceable. And not only that, I need to take it apart just to finish welding it. So we don't want to get in here and just weld up a whole exhaust system. We're going to have to make breaking points, you know, where it clamps together so we can take it apart and that kind of stuff. But so far so good. This is my next piece going in, I do believe. This one right here. And it's going to come up to here. I just got to get it trimmed just right so that it doesn't hang down too far. I don't want anything hanging below the factory, which is this piece over here. So this, I do believe at this point, will be hanging down just a little too low. So all we got to do is trim it up so it sits up a little higher. We'll tack it in it. We'll go and get it tacked in. And then I don't know if you noticed, this actually still has the exhaust tip on it. I'll cut that off once I figure out where everything goes. Or I don't know, man. Maybe we should just weld it in there and just leave it like that. That's pretty sick. Look at that. No, it'd be way too loud. We're kind of going classy with this one as far as the sound, at least for now. I'm probably going to put some, like, maybe some glass packs or some cherry bombs on it and kind of run them back out to the rear axle. Nothing too crazy. I have really big plans for the actual exhaust system that I'm going to put on this someday after we get some of the other things done to it, and I think you guys are going to love them. I'm going to put a lot of work into them, but this is just kind of temporary just to get us up and running and driving and all of that kind of stuff. I do want this to be a daily driven car, and I'm so anxious to get it out on the road and start driving it that other exhaust project I'm talking about is going to take way too long. So we're just kind of taking the path of least resistance at this point just to get it on the road and drivable. We'll get into all that custom stuff on the next phase is what I'm trying to say. I'm going to go ahead and cut this exhaust tip off. It's actually getting in my way at this point. Oh, we're about to lay some pipe now. We've managed to hit our target. which is the notched out area over here. All right, now some of you guys are like, why are you doing all this? Because I want true dual exhaust. I don't want it to be like the factory where it comes out over to a single and then goes back out, turns back into a double, you know what I mean? So this way I'm gonna have true dual exhaust on both sides. You know, something else I was thinking, you know, we keep talking about having to put a clamp in here so that we could take it apart, probably somewhere around in this area where the pipe goes straight. But you know, in reality, all I'd have to do is pull a little cotter pin out right here on the shifter linkage, and you can move it right out of the way, and then this would just drop right out of here. That's really the only obstacle, is this right here. So I don't even know if we need a clamp, to be honest. So now that I got the driver's side kind of sorted out, I thought we'd jump over to the passenger side. The passenger side is in a little worse shape than the driver's side was. This is basically where all the bad stuff is. So I got to cut the pipe leading up to the exhaust manifold, but you can see everything is in my way, and I can't come down here anywhere because it's rusted all the way down to here. So we're going to have to get up here to the good stuff before we can tie into any of it. And really all I need is the flange itself, and it's all good. So I guess I'll see if I could get up in here somewhere, maybe just right below the flange where it goes to the manifold. See if I can get my saw up into there. And then, you know, obviously all we need to do is just tack it, and then we could take it all apart and get it out here and actually do some real welding. So we'll try it. Let's see if I can get my saw in there. Hell, let's pull the wheel off too. Maybe that'll open us up a little more room. It's kind of in my way. I need to kind of get right in there like that. And don't forget to put your lug nuts back where they go. Good Lord, don't let these things float around the shop. So yeah, having the wheel out of the way actually did help. I think I could fish the saw up through here. Something like that. I don't know. I think this is my only option, to be honest with you. Look out. About took out my lighting, you guys. Well, that's all that we're going to be able to use is just that little bit coming off there. That's all we needed anyway, so we're good. Well, just dragging some more pipe in. Good thing it comes with two of them, because we do need both of them. So this is what I come up with. This is obviously to replace the bad chunk that was really rusted that we cut out a few minutes ago. This metal up here next to the manifold, really good shape, nice and thick, no problem at all. Just kind of cleaned it up a little bit so my welds would stick. This is going to get us back down out of this area, and then we will have another elbow that's going to hook right here. Okay, that's going to swing us back over this way where we need to be, and then obviously we'll have to put in another elbow. Of course, that elbow will go right here, somewhere probably about right in here actually, and then that'll put us right back where we were at, right in line with our cutout notch back here in the cross member. And then from then on, it's just a straight shot out to our mufflers. You guys might have noticed I went ahead and stuck something on just to kind of protect myself from the metal shavings. You know, when you're cutting this stuff with a grinder, you don't want to be breathing that crap in. It might be better to wear an actual mask, but this ought to be better than nothing, I think. And the reason you might want to consider an actual mask, a respirator of some sort, is these things typically have a coating on them, and when you go grinding that stuff off, it's not good to breathe that stuff in. Now I've got that piece tacked in. Now we can come back with the other elbow, and that's going to put us right back where we was earlier before we cut the bad section out. You see, that's right where the other piece ended, right over here by the it kind of runs alongside of the torsion bar there. Now, as you can see, we got a little problem there. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the angle on this end piece, and then if we change the angle on this piece a little bit too, eventually we'll close that gap up and we'll have ourselves a nice little seam that we can weld together. Well, okay, I think I've got this thing trimmed up, and I think I've got my angles just right. I'm gonna go ahead and pop it in there and see what happens. I'm gonna get this in here. I'm gonna line it up exactly the way I want it, and then I'm gonna mark it with a magic marker. I think probably about right there. And then I'll have a mark for it to line up with, you know? We'll mark it right across there just like this. You see that there? That way, if I move it around a little bit, I'm gonna know it, you know what I mean? So once we get the marks lined up, that's exactly where my weld needs to be. So to make it from the last piece that we just welded in to the cross member to where we're even on both sides, driver's side and the passenger side, I need a piece this size in diameter, but I need it to be 23 inches long, and I can tell you right now, that ain't gonna get it. So let's head back to the scrap pile. I won. So this is the final piece to the puzzle till we get the mufflers. Here we go. I want to mark it even with the other side, which is about right in the middle of this cross member here. Close enough. Tighten down the clamp, and here we go. So there's that part of it all tacked together. None of it's hanging down excessively. I think it's all kind of tucked up in there a little bit further than what it would have been from the factory, actually. So where do we go from here? Obviously, we got to get mufflers. Well, alright, you guys are going to be proud of me. I actually did break down and spend some money. I bought some parts. I lied to you earlier. I said we weren't going to break open the racing catalog, and here we are. Check it out, man. I broke down and actually bought some mufflers. Look. We got the old glass packs, dude. I think these are going to be awesome. I believe these to be 18 inches long, and I think it was like 2 1/4 inlet and outlet. So let's get the, you know, they're not ready to go on yet. I need to weld an exhaust tip on it, and then I need to weld a section on here to kind of reduce it down a little bit to put it onto our pipe. So let's just go ahead and do that now. You might notice there's one missing. Well, that's because it's already on the car. Should I give you guys a sneak peek? No, I'm gonna make you wait. Let's start by making an exhaust tip. That ought to work perfect, look at that. So yeah, this is the piece that's going to reduce it down so that it'll actually fit on our exhaust pipe. I like to throw that little mark on there, just give me a little reference mark. Shows me where the halfway point is, kind of take out the guesswork a little bit. Once that's in there, we can go ahead and throw a tack on it. Just like that. We'll throw a few more, you know, one on each side, north, east, south, and west. That'll keep it from moving around when we solid weld it. Then we got to turn around and do the other side. This one is obviously our new exhaust tip. And we'll just get that set up to where it matches the other side that I've already built, and we can throw a tack on it. I like to tack it all the way around before I do any final welding. Now the cool thing about this piece is we can weld all of this solid and then go put it in the car. Now that the welds are done, how about we just go through here and dust a little black paint on it. I think that would look pretty good. Help keep it from rusting. Why not? Nothing to do now but get it on the car. That should slip right up on the end of it perfectly. Now to make it match the other side, it needs to go about right there. Ought to do it. That way it's just outside of the cross member where the muffler starts to get fat, you know. We want it to be just outside of that. That ought to be perfect about right there. I've got the back of it propped up on a stack of boards. I've got everything exactly the way I want it. I think I'm ready to weld it in. Okay, here we go. This is pretty much the finished product. I do have some odds and ends left to do to it. Got to take it all apart and finish weld everything. That's the first thing. And we're going to have to build some exhaust hangers. You see back there where I've got them up on the jack stands. We're going to put some hangers back here, and we'll probably, I think we'll tie them in with this. There's a cross member right there, which is perfect. So we'll hang it right off the end of there. It ought to be just fine. I wouldn't imagine us having any issues with that. One thing I like about the exhaust, this is what we were going for, is that they do not hang down under the car. I may have mentioned this before, but I absolutely cannot stand exhausts that hang way down below the frame, and these do not. Look at this. You could barely, this is right even with the frame, you could barely even see them. I love that. That's exactly what I was going for. This car sits extremely low to the ground. We can't have exhaust hanging down underneath there. No way. Now, I already know some of you guys are going to be like, those are way too short, Weird Beard. You're never going to get by with those. And you're right. They are extremely short. They need to go out a little further. I'd like to take them out to the rear axle, but here's my issue. From this point back, the floorboard comes way down, and you can see here where the last knucklehead actually welded an exhaust bracket right to the floorboard. Not cool. There's no way I'm going to run a pipe that far down, because, look at this. When you come out here, you're going to see all of that. It's going to be way down here. There's no way, dude. I'll be dragging my exhaust around, and that ain't happening. So really what I got to do on this deal, really I need to swing the exhaust over here kind of around this tunnel ram, and then I could bring them up just a bit, and they'll run right along the drive shaft, and then that would get me back to the rear axle. Just have my pipes running right here, and then one over here on the other side. They're just enough clearance that I could tuck them up just a little bit, and it'll make the difference opposed to having them just welded right to the bottom of the floor and then hanging down here. There's no way. I'm not going to be able to do that. No way. Now, I kind of teased you guys earlier talking about I have plans to build a custom exhaust system for this car. It's going to be very involved, but I can't wait to do it. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to put side pipes on this thing, but they're not just going to be hanging out here off the side of the car. I am going to integrate those into the rocker panel to where they'll basically be the rocker panel coming through here. A big old 4-inch side pipe kind of pushed up in there, so that it just kind of flows into the car body. Now, we've all seen that before, side pipes that they're just integrated into the body versus just sticking way out. I love that look, and that's exactly what I want to do on this one, and that's what I'm going to do on this one. So what we got going on here, that's not a forever thing. We will be going back and doing this. I don't have time to do it right now. Now, I got big plans for this car. This car is going to lay all the way down on the ground. It's going to have air ride suspension, and when you air it out, it's going to lay right on the frame here. Yeah, this will actually touch the ground when the car is aired out, so there's no way I can have pipes hanging down any lower than that. You see what I'm saying? And before you jump all over me, I already know that's probably not your thing. You're going to tell me, no, don't bag it, don't do all that, but that's what we're going to do, and you guys are more than welcome to follow along on the journey. A lot of work, a lot of engineering, a lot of things go into making these cars lay down really low to the ground and yet still ride good, and it'll ride like a dream, you guys. We will not sacrifice ride quality, not even a little bit, by putting bags in this thing. We're just going to increase the cool factor, that's all. And you know what? I'm just going to come out and say it. If it's too low, you're too old. I'm playing. That's something I used to tell my dad all the time. He hated all this low. He's, no, what are you doing? You're ruining a perfectly good car. I beg to differ. I think we're making it better. We're making it aggressive, man. Look at that. We're basically tucking lugs already. And you're not a cool guy unless you're tucking lugs, man. I'm telling you that right now. I'm just kidding. Different strokes for different folks, right? That's what I always heard. So anyway, man, I appreciate everybody following along. If you made it to the end, well, congratulations. You made it through a very boring video, but I do appreciate it. I thank y'all very much. You guys keep doing what you're doing. We're going to grow this channel into something very special. I promise you that. We'll be doing all kinds of cool guy stuff out here once the money starts a-flowing. And we're doing great. We're doing great. You guys are awesome, very supportive. And like I said before, we are building a community here, man. If you don't believe me, go look at the comment section. Dude, our thumbs up to thumbs down ratio seriously is like 99.2%. Unheard of. I'm very proud of that. I think I got some bragging rights there. So I have you guys to thank for all of that, man. This is an unbelievable journey that we're on. I'm enjoying every minute of it. So anyway, for now, I'll get on out of here. I'll see y'all later.